Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks.
Yeah, this is Antonio Moore. We here talking about black buying power. We're gonna have a discussion. We're gonna get this going today. My engineer's getting everything straight. What up, y'all? I told y'all we gonna have this. You know, I talked about it on my channel, Black Buying Power, the myth. I'm gonna have Yvette Carnell call in pretty soon. She's out. But while she's gone, I'm gonna get to you. I wanna have this discussion today to kind of really flesh out this myth, this legend that black folks got a lot of buying power and just mismanage it. None of it's true. I'm gonna go through my questions today. I know y'all been waiting. I'm gonna let you guys call in. Again, this is Dash Radio. Press the Dash Talk app. You can get the Dash Radio app. Press Dash Talk. You can go to Tone Talks YouTube channel and call in 323-879-4445. I'm looking forward to getting your opinions, seeing how you guys feel about this whole thing, the black buying power, the mythology of it all. But I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about what I see. You know, I see a lot of black aspirational people out here thinking about buying power instead of talking about the reality of their condition, the reality of the condition of our race, the reality of America at this moment. President Trump. Yeah, he's president. So let's talk about this thing, black buying power. Articles be coming out every year. We got $1.3 trillion. And when the article comes out, all the black people that went to college come out with that article on their Facebook, and it makes them feel good. But is it a good number? Does it matter that we consume products? I'm here to kind of explain that to you today. I want you to be able to call in and give your opinion, give your take, 323-879-4445. But let me start off by framing this thing. I'm going to go through about 5 questions today, but in between, I'm going to give a lot of different little points and data and different things of the sort. So, you know, black buying power is $1.3 trillion. What does that mean? That's the first question. Number 2, is consumption a measure of power? The myth of buying black as power. You know, the whole myth that we don't cycle our money correctly and that's why we're broke. I want you guys to be able to understand that, see what's going on. Number 3, what does Nielson really say about blacks? You know, I have a couple charts I'm going to go through. A couple different little pieces of information I want to share with you. Oh, and it's crazy what I found. Some new stuff in here. The next one is, how does black buying power compare to other groups? You know, we like to talk about things like we racing against ourselves on a treadmill. I want to compare this black buying power to white folks, to Asians, kind of show y'all that this is a bad metric when I look at the data. Other thing I want to do, the last thing, is how does black buying power connect to legacy? You know, we love to talk about slavery and Jim Crow and the things like that. I want to have that conversation with you today. But let's go up to the top. Black buying power is $1.3 trillion. What does that mean? Come on, man. Jared Ball, Professor Jared Ball, Morgan State, he brought this to the table and really deconstructed this. So I can't start off without framing this thing and reading a little Jared Ball to you. This is what Jared says. The claim that African Americans have roughly $1 trillion in buying power is popularly repeated mythology with no basis in sound economic logic or data. While the myth has a longer history, it is today largely propelled by misreadings and poor interpretation of Nielsen surveys. Buying power is a marketing phrase that refers only to the power of consumers to purchase what are strictly available goods and is used as a measurement for corporations to better market their products. Power here has nothing to do with actual economic strength, and there is no collective $1 trillion that black people have. This is all from Jared Ball, professor at Morgan State. You can go Google his article on black buying power. The myth of buying power, this is the last thing he says, functions as propaganda, working to deny the reality of structural, intentional, and necessary economic inequality required to maintain society. So buying power is actually a control mechanism in a way. It's all mythology. That's what they're saying. That's what Jared Ball is saying, and I can't kind of agree with it. You have a group here that is trying to take consumption and use it as power. You know, the second question that I had today was, is consumption a measure of power? You know, we switched to it being a society of consumers. We just buy. It's interesting that we as African Americans have taken on so much of the tropes and ideas about ourselves like it isn't just American. America produces people to be consumers. It creates us from young. You have your baby use the iPad, play with it, fiddle with it. Have your young kid buy apps and order things through Amazon on the computer. You get the Echo for your house where you can holler out cleaning stuff as an adult. Consumption is built into America post-50s. But somehow we as a group like to blame ourselves like we're somehow not being American or performing bad habits that aren't normal in America. And I would push back against all of that. But the bigger point is consumption is not a way to measure your power in a society. Production is. What you find is that African Americans in many ways don't understand that we created an identity for us around being a super consumer that I would argue when I show you the data, we aren't even. Again, you can call in 323-879-4445. Join the discussion. We're going to have this talk. Black buying power. I kind of wanted to get to this. I did a short video on my YouTube, but I wanted to flesh it out a little more. We're going to take some time here. And what I think is part of the reason that we do that is we need to believe that we have agency, that we have some sense of control. This is why we harp on black buying power. You never hear articles about Asian buying power, even though I found a few, but they didn't run around with them, holding them up in the air. You never hear about white buying power. And I'm going to get to that in a second because it's crazy when you get that data. But you hear about black buying power. In fact, you hear about $1.3 trillion of it. What I'm saying to you today is so much of what we base this on, what Jared Ball is saying in his article, Professor Jared Ball, is so much that we base it on is not buying power at all. Let me ask you, if you go buy a Ford and you put $500 down, but the car is $40,000, they let you drive it off the lot. Is your buying power $500 or $40,000? What we like to tell ourselves is that person is irresponsible. They could have bought some land instead. But what we don't understand is how debt is structured. How you can't take that $40,000 that you got approved for at Ford and go use it on land instead. How the approval for land is fundamentally different than the approval for a car. So much of this is bigger than what we understand. It's debt games, it's finance, it's wealth moving, and it's little old us trying to see ourselves through buying power. Again, 323-879-4445. This is Dash Radio. Press the Dash Talk app. Join the discussion on YouTube. I know we have it jumping in the chat. I'm looking at it. People just talking and chatting, and thank you so much. But please use the super chat. Use the super chat. Support this channel. You can also go to tonetalks.org if you don't want to use the super chat. And you can read articles, and you can also support there as well. That's how I bring this show. But shout out to Dash Radio. Shout out to Zoe Williams for making this possible. What I want to do is continue this discussion around consumption and around buying power. And I want to be able to have us understand the impact of us not really pushing the issue on politics because we keep on using aspiration. I want us to understand that there's a lot going on around us that we may not understand. One of the things that I did before I did this show is I wanted to go get out some data. I wanted to really understand what's income in America. What does income look like? So I went out and I got this data, and I didn't expect it to look this bad. I'm gonna be honest. And what I found is there's the census for 2016 actually released the total aggregate income of white folks and the total aggregate income of black folks. Hold on. What you find is while we're touting $1.3 trillion in buying power, in 2016, altogether, all the black folks, we made $808 billion with a B. I know that sounds great, but hold on. When you look over at white America, the aggregate income for white families in 2016 was $7 trillion. Actually, let me be clear, $7.6 trillion. The context of what's going on is really, really big. I have a caller. Let me bring that caller in. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hello?
What's going on, Antonio?
Oh, I got Yvette Carnell. She's gonna be on the show all night. I appreciate you calling in, Yvette. I want to start off. Let me start off by saying congratulations to you. The reason why I'm saying congratulations is straight up. You know, I talked to Dr. Cosby, and they decided to. His board of trustees voted to award you an honorary doctorate from Simmons College. You know, it's the last HBCU out of Louisville. Congratulations, Yvette.
Thank you. And I, you know, we've talked about this a lot, but Dr. Cosby and everybody, you know, we talk about Simmons doing some phenomenal work out there. And so, you know, if you want to see where people are actually doing the work and putting in the work and forming communities and collectiveness, I think that's where you gotta go.
So I'm going to have Yvette on for the show, and you guys can call in 323-879-4445 anytime you want. But if we just end up talking, you know me, I love talking to Yvette. And what we talking about is black buying power, Yvette. And I was just telling them, I found a piece of data. I sent it to you. I sent it to Darity. You know, the total aggregate income for African Americans, all the families together in 2016 was $808 billion with a B. The total aggregate income for white families was $7.6 trillion. Think about that, Yvette. So we run around here talking about buying power, and they making all the money. They already got all the money in terms of wealth, and then even in this year, it's just getting wider. Yvette, what you think about buying power before I move on?
Well, I mean, we've said this before, but we have to say it again. Like, nobody defines themselves through consumption. Even when you look at consumption, that was something that you told me about. You know, when we look at the white community, like you just say, when you look at Asians, when you look at all of these, we're basically saying that we have money based on the fact that we can buy soap. We can buy some of the things that we need, that we can buy laundry detergent. That's not how you define yourself in terms of how your community has wealth. Because the truth is, too, you can't take that money that you use for soap and then go put it on some other stuff. And you can't, and this idea that, well, if you don't buy a pair of Jordans, then that can be used to fund industries. One of the things that's apparent is we don't even know the kind of money it takes to drive an industry. It takes more. You're not driving an industry by buying some Jordans. That's not the kind of money we're looking at, especially in the height of income inequality.
Yvette, you know, I got a caller. I'm going to bring them in. You know, we're going to be taking callers throughout the night. Let's take this caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hello, can you hear me?
You got to turn your background down a little bit so we don't get feedback. But I love that you called in.
Hi, my name is Arena Hennon, and I'm calling from Oakland, California, the Bay Area. I first want to give a mass shout out to you for all the data and the education that you bring to the community. And Yvette, I faithfully watch your show every Monday and Wednesday. And please don't miss a day, because if I don't see you, I kind of feel weird, okay?
Thank you.
So I just wanted to just speak on the fact of the buying power sense and just give you a little background. I've been watching you guys for about 6 months. And you're totally right, Antonio, and I can use myself as an example. I want to buy a house in the Bay Area, but that would never probably happen unless I end up finding somebody who I can basically buy with. But if I want to buy a car, I can walk into a dealership and get any car that I want at a low interest rate because my credit is good. And I feel like black people have this illusion that if we have nice things that we're stable, but we're not passing any wealth down to our families and to our kids. And it really upsets me that we don't want to look at our finances from a bigger picture. And when I say that, meaning that we have things that depreciate. they don't go up in value.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you're totally right. When I look at this thing, and Yvette, I have some charts from Nielson that I pulled. I sent you some earlier. I know you've been on the run, but I'm gonna share some of those after we let the caller go. What I feel is happening is that they trying to play a game on us. They don't want us to deal with. They don't want us to deal with the reality of our social condition. They don't want us to start doing politics. So they give us trinkets and games, bread and circus. Yes. Instead of giving us real things that lift us up. What do you think, Yvette?
Well, they give us credit, and that's the thing that people have to understand too. Credit isn't wealth. So you'll ride around in a luxury car, and you'll say, "Well, I got a Lexus, I have an Infiniti, and I have a Mercedes," and that's credit. And so you feel like you're a member of an elite class. That's what credit has done to us. Credit has made us feel like we're a member of an elite class, but you can't pass down credit. You can't even pass down your good credit. Once you're gone, that kid has to build up their own little piece of credit. So you don't have any wealth to pass down. That's just something that has been extended to you by way of credit to make you believe that you're as American as the people who actually do have wealth. It's a con.
Is there anything else you wanted to say to the audience caller? Because I got another caller I'm going to bring in. I'm just trying to give everybody a chance.
I just want to say that Black people, we got to start pulling our money together. And just by me living in the Bay Area and witnessing the gentrification, and you're right, Yvette, I'll be straight up honest with you. I have a Mercedes. And when I drive around, people look at me differently. But you know what? I feel like I can't make any power moves as buying things that are appreciating. So I can basically feel like I can plan for my future, but I can have this appreciating asset that is not going to bring any value to me. I can't retire and do anything with it. So I just want to say to even the younger people, I'm in my 30s, but young people, save your money, look into investments, diversify your portfolio, and look at the future and not look at just for living for now.
Thank you, miss. We got another caller coming in, Yvette. Let's take this next caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
This is Dale calling from Upper Marlboro.
Hey, Daryl, I thank you again. I think you're a return caller. Before you speak, let me say this, though. You know, I'm doing a paper with Sandy Darity. It's going to come out in April. It's going to be fire. You know, it's funny because these are all economists that I'm be working with, but it kind of comes from a lot of the work I've been doing because I'm trying to bring it to that ground level. A lot of what we're talking about is mythology in terms of we have a better savings rate than white folks when you normalize for income. When you start looking at everything, what we've done is created a mythology around why we're broke. We're broke because we Black. Let me put it bluntly. And so, like, what I think is starting to happen is that we're using aspiration as an escape. In the Nielson study, before I let the caller speak, what they found is Blacks are, listen to this, Yvette, listen to this. Blacks are more likely to read Forbes than the general market. Forbes magazine. Think about what we're saying. This aspirational magazine. So you look at this thing, this chart, and what it shows is that 15% of Blacks read Forbes, while only 10% of the general market. 12% of Blacks read Fortune, while only 9% of the general market. We sit up here and read these magazines like they gonna make us rich. Ain't it like playing the lottery? Caller, what's your take on everything?
I agree with you. It's like playing a lottery, trying to get your kid to be a NBA star, so forth. But as far as the Black buying power, you know, they say about spend money in the community. Well, like I told my friend, I don't have a Black bank giving me a good rate on a mortgage. I don't have Black electric companies. Most of my money is spent on stuff that I need to survive. And after that, there's not a whole lot left over. And I'm in PG County where Black people allegedly have money, have decent wages, but after the necessities, ain't a whole lot left over.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You know, Yvette, what's your take on the last point that I just made? What I just said about?
Well, see, the thing is, when you talk about reading Forbes, and the caller's exactly right in terms of this. We aren't just going around like the people who talk about buying power make it sound like we're going around throwing $100 bills in the air. Like, no, that's something you saw from one rapper or one athlete at a strip club. That ain't what Black people doing. But the second part of it, when you talk about Forbes, what it just really shows is that we don't understand wealth, right? Forbes Forbes is like it's a reflection of wealthy people that already exist and telling you what they're doing and how they're situated. It's not a mechanism for you to become wealthy. So you don't become wealthy by reading Forbes. The people who they've already gotten their wealth, they passed it down, they have these social structures, and there's a magazine that talks about them. You cannot tap into that group of people or that wealth by reading it. But see, we got so much Oprah in our community. We got so many magic, all these boards we're supposed to look at and dream of being wealthy. We really believe that that's part of how we get there is just like reading that, and somehow it's going to become infused in terms of what we do or how we feel. And another thing, let me just say this one last thing. That's also how we get information late. If you see something talking about something to invest in on the cover of Forbes, chances are it's too late. It's old. The people have already made money off of it. So that's how we get late information too.
You talking about crypto coins? I'm trying to get in crypto coins next week.
Everybody that made their money.
Boyce Watkins crypto coin class. I'm just saying to y'all, what's happening is like we not getting honest that Black America is struggling. Caller, thank you so much for calling in. The lines are lit. I want to take the next caller. Give everybody a chance to get in here. Can we take this next caller? Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Tone, it's Reg from Boston. What's happening?
Reg, you know you got to just chill out. You got to chill out, Reg. What's up with you?
I can't chill out on this one. But
let me wait. Hold on, Reg. Let me tell you one thing. When we look at this thing, I pulled some charts. Everybody that don't believe me, here go the chart. And what you find is on the Nielsen, like the things that we purchase, we buying a lot of feminine products and hair care stuff and stuff like that. But like you look at this thing, it's not a lot of other stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, we buy soap and all that as well. What you find is that what we're counting as buying power is normal household staples. We're not counting paying for college. I said this to you on the shorter video. How many of you guys gave a school $25,000 in tuition last year? And didn't nobody answer in the chat. I've been checking my chat. It's over 15,000 views or something like that. And nobody said I gave $25,000. No African Americans. This is the reality of our condition, is that when you talk about us not having wealth, when you talk about us having an extreme gap in income, this idea that we have power if we just cycle money, and I'm going to let Yvette speak to that whole black dollar cycling myth in a second. It's just crazy. Reg, what's your take on this thing?
Yeah, I totally agree, and that's always the pushback. Like you said, we got to cycle it, we got to invest. And it was funny because Yvette, you remember how we were talking a few weeks ago, and we were talking about the market cap for all the cryptos was like 700 something billion. It's like 300 now. So we went from 6 months of consumption to 3 months of consumption if we owned all the cryptos in the world. But like y'all have been demonstrating, it's all, for consumer goods and what we need to survive.
Yvette,
and that.
I want Yvette to chime in as well. Can you break down that whole mythology? How people they found out that black people cycling dollars isn't, it isn't real.
I think there's an article. I think it was Howard. They couldn't find any data to support it. Like this idea that the black dollar only stays in the black community and it cycles only a few. It cycles much less than an Asian dollar and all this stuff. Because first of all, understand how silly that is. Because what you're really basing that on is the idea that we're segregated, and so we have a black community with black business and a white community with white business, and we take our money out of the white community, out of our black community, and take it over there to white people. Well, no, everything in our community is mostly white. Like mostly white. I'm not saying you don't have some Asian businesses or hair care or a liquor store, but I'm telling you, most of what you have, you got your Kroger stores, you got your Ralphs, depending on where you live, you got your Publix, you got your fast food. All of these are multinational chains. This is not even a mom and pop kind of conversation where we have black communities now with a bustling group of black business. So how in the world could you do some research to say that it only stays in the black community? Because the black community is more than where black people live. That's supposed to be more than what makes up just a community. But see, and so what we find is that even put all that aside, there's no research.
None.
There's no research.
It's all feelings. It's all feelings,
It's all
Yvette.
feelings. Somebody be like, no, so and so said that in his book, but show me the data that somebody researched that and say, yeah, no, where did it come from?
Hey, we out here having a discussion. Dash Radio, press the Dash Talk app, 323-879-4445. I want to share one more thing with you guys. So the Nielson had a graphic where they showed like how many times people went to the store, black people versus the general population. Yvette, are you still there with me?
I'm here.
All right, and what you found is that African Americans' trips to the grocery market in a 52-week period, we went to the store 53 times, the grocery store, and the general market was 56 times. The drugstore, the African Americans went to the drugstore 15 times, and that's it in 52-week period. And the general market went to the drugstore 14 times. Listen to this, Yvette. The dollar store, the 99-cent store, Dollar Tree, Family Dollar. We went there 20 times, and the market went there 13 times. That tells you our condition, our financial situation. Let's take a caller. The lines are lit. Everybody wants to get in here. That's the point of having this show. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yo, this is Darnell out that Tuscaloosa area.
What's up, Darnell? D?
What up, though?
What you think about this?
The Black Power. I think Black Power spending is cool, but I look at the last time we did that with the Black Wall Street.
Mm-hmm.
I look at where we failed at, and it was in defense. So I was thinking, next time we build it up, don't you think we need to spend more money on the defense spending, kind of like what America do, spend most of the money in defense? Because it's cool to build it up, but you got to be able to defend it.
Wait a minute, Darnell. Hold on. You said we failed at defense, or we just got our businesses burnt down. This isn't a reality of us.
We wasn't able to defend it.
No.
Helicopters just like they got in order to defend it, or
we
need defense.
See, this is part of the problem is what we believe about our wealth condition, what we believe about our status in America is almost fantastical in the sense that we think that we live in a separate America inside of America, when actually we live in America under the foot of America. These people were doing the best that they could. And the best they could was to set up businesses after coming out of slavery under the belief that the federal government would protect them. Then when the time came for the federal government to do their job, do the same job they do for white businesses. Because if you got a bunch of black people and they went into a white community and raided their community, those white people wouldn't just buy some helicopters. Nah, they're going to call the National Guard. They're going to call just like we saw in Baltimore. They're not coming outside with their own helicopters. We deserve the same recourse, not only because we built the country, but also because we pay taxes already to give us those protections. Yvette, give me your opinion on it.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Like nobody, like one of the things when I brought up that book 1919, the year of racial violence. If you haven't checked it out, please read it. What you see is that black people did everything they could, sometimes successfully, but most of the time, a lot of the times unsuccessfully, buying all kinds of guns and fighting back. You know, the same thing is reported in Harry Haywood's book about how they took machine guns to racists, right? Racist police officers. But like when you're a small minority in a country that is built on your failure, like if the government doesn't do anything, like what are you going to do? There's not enough of you. If all of you and your children and your women take up arms, you cannot do it. That's why we have police. That's why we have rights. And
Yvette,
that's why we have police.
And Yvette,
they're supposed to protect.
So much of this comes back to we just don't understand our limitations. Thank you for calling in, caller. You can take him off the line. So much of this comes back to our lack of understanding of the limitations of being black in this country. We don't have wealth. We don't have the wealth to buy the kind of things you're talking about. One of the things that I picked up talking to Byron Allen, who is a billionaire, is a real billionaire family is 3 billion hard, 1 billion liquid. We don't have one of those. We got people who, at best, when you add everything they have up, may scrape near 1 billion or 1.5 billion that fluctuates. But you can't transfer that into let Oprah try to go buy an Apache What you think would happen if an Oprah said, give me 2 Apaches with this money? No. I'm going to take a commercial break and come right back. Dash Radio, press the Dash Talk app. Come on, let's bring this discussion. We're going to keep this fired up. Be back in 2 minutes. Yvette's going to stay with me to the other side of this. What up, y'all? I'm back. You know, people in here fired up talking about Oprah need to buy mercenaries and all kind of stuff. You still there?
I'm here.
Hey, they in the chat talking about Oprah need to buy mercenaries. They don't understand. They didn't let Oprah buy a school. Let's bring this caller in and then I'm going to go to the next one.
Even if they did let Oprah do that, okay, how many Oprahs does it take to make one Jeff Bezos? And then he ain't the only one. Like, how many?
Come on.
How many Oprahs is he?
And they say it's a whole nother set of wealthy whites that we don't even get to read about. But let's bring this caller in. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Tone. Hey, Yvette. This is Doug from Atlanta. How you doing?
Doug, I'm going to bring you in, and I love to do this where I'm going to set this up. I'm swinging over to the fourth part of this thing. We've been through the first 3. And this is, how does black buying power compare to other groups? Whites, Asians. It's funny because they never tell us how much white buying power there is. So I just did it based on deductive math. And what I come with is whites have about $10 trillion in buying power. 10 trillion. Big bank take little bank. So and understand that's because they're buying cars in cash. Somebody asked, they said, I paid for tuition last year. Did you pay $25,000 in cash? They're buying houses in some cases in cash. Mm-hmm. We don't understand the reality of where we live. That's why we can't do politics, because everybody thinks that we can buy an Apache and defend ourselves. What I want to do is also talk about Asians. But before I talk about Asians as a consumer group, what's your opinion on this?
Well, first and foremost, the number that you gave, 10 trillion, that's 10 times what the black buying power number was, number one. So how we think that's going to even get us, anywhere close to comparable in the race is ridiculous. The second part is what people don't realize as well. It's not just about money, but it's about social capital. It's about social standing. And you and Yvette always hit on that all the time. I mean, because you look at the example of Byron Allen. He wanted to buy an entire network. He wanted to have an entire channel. But he only got, a few shows, and he had to use that, 1879 slave law in order to even get that. So, yeah. and he's got billions of dollars. So,
and let me say this: you can check out my interview with Byron Allen on my channel. I consider him a friend. Talked to him for hundreds of hours, but the interview was fire. Check it out on YouTube on Tone Talks. But you're right. What Byron had to do was sue each one of them, Charter, AT&T, Comcast, for billions of dollars. And I'll tell you, they're real. That's a real lawsuit, not some frivolous thing. But that's not just Byron. That's the reality of how we're locked out of access to wealth and privilege in this country. Yvette, what do you think about this $10 trillion that white folks got buying treadmills? They buy.
Well, before I go there, I just want to. We just mentioned the circulating the and I found the link of the dollar doesn't say it. The Jewish dollar stays in their community, and the Asian dollar, now it's Asian dollar. And this is the Howard University project. This is that if you want to go find it, it's called does a dollar spent in the black community, really stay in the black community? It's Truth Be Told News, truthbetold.news. And here's what we have. It says to fact check the statistic, Truth Be Told tried to track down the source of this widely cited figure. Several federal government agencies produce data on black spending patterns. The Federal Reserve Bank publishes a survey on consumer finance that contains information on consumer spending patterns, but it does not contain the level of detail that would show how often a dollar would circulate in a given community. The Bureau of Labor Statistics also produces reports on black spending patterns, but this data also does not show how often money circulates within a neighborhood. Other agencies, like the Small Business Administration, keep track on black businesses, but the SBA also does not compile figures that would allow a comparison of how often money circulates within the community. It says, so what you basically have, they trace this back to a book, a 20-year-old book that didn't cite the study. And so what you have is people who are basically talking, and there's no data.
Yvette,
Yeah.
I can't even go there because in the chat, they said we need a 10-plane black Air Force.
What?
They say we get 10 planes and then just defend ourselves. Think about what they're saying against the first world country called America. Caller, is there anything else you wanted to say to the audience?
I want to say first, whoever said that has been watching too much Iron Eagle. They need to put the movies down, put the TV down, pick up a book, pick up some of these studies that you and Yvette are always talking about and read those, first off. Secondly, we have to get out of this mindset of blaming ourselves and not looking at data, not looking at things in context. Once upon a time, back, when we actually lived in a segregated society, yes, you could have something where black businesses are able to circulate, money however many times throughout the community. But even then, once again, it was not protected, and it couldn't be protected because the federal government said that it wasn't going to protect us. It basically will not. It's through direct statement, but through action. So, anyways, you guys just keep up what you're doing, keep spreading the data, and myself and the rest of the Tone Talk family, the Breaking Brown family, we're going to continue trying to spread the word in the community.
Thank you so much, caller. Now let's go back to this, Yvette, because it's important. I think it's funny.
But let me just ask one question before you go ahead. Can I just say one thing, please?
Yes. You always open.
Everybody keeps so much of what I keep hearing from people about we have to go back to the day when we had businesses. We have to go back to the day is a lot. It's nostalgia, and nostalgia still doesn't match the data. During the period that these people are talking about is during Jim Crow. During Jim Crow, the poverty rate for black people was around 60%. What you're telling me is that even during that time, the businesses that we had were not enough to get black people out of poverty. So so how in the world are you nostalgic for a period with a poverty rate that high? It still doesn't make any sense, and it still tells you the limitations of black business without any kind of governmental, any kind of support for a group of people who have been oppressed and suppressed for so long. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you don't have to be sorry because I'm up here just checking the chat out to show we have two issues with this buying power. We have the larger, more important issue, which is understanding the reality that black buying power really is soap and hair care products and staples of us living. But then we got a second part that's showing up in the chat. One guy said it's $20 million for a Raptor plane. We need to get a few of those. No, it's $20 million for the military who makes large orders to buy a Raptor plane. Go try to buy one plane. Walk in there with a suitcase with $20 million and say, I just want one Raptor. It's not like a consumption product. We don't understand wealth.
7-Eleven?
No.
It's not 7-Eleven?
No. We don't understand wealth. We don't understand our position. We live in a fantasy, and these people be like 40-some years old, not understanding the reality of the condition of blackness in this country. And it's a problem because it makes it hard for us to do politics, which brings me to the Asians. Great article came out in the Atlantic. I cited it in my prior video. What it showed is that, while black people have $1.2 trillion in spending power. Asians aren't that far behind. I think they just broke $1 trillion. So you might say, we doing better than the Asians at least. No. See, we have 16 million workers to produce that $1.2 trillion in buying power. They only have 8 million workers. They have half the workers and nearly the same buying power. The reality is that their incomes are higher. The things they're spending on is like tuition for college, not like a piece of tuition for college. I don't think we understand our positionality in this country. I think we think that we're almost home. We're just a little bit behind, and we're not the shoes. Let's take this next caller. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, guys. It's Leroy from Miami.
Hey, Leroy. Thanks for calling in. What's your opinion on this?
So it's funny because I just had a conversation with one of my best friends about this. Hi, Yvette. I'm sorry I didn't say hi to you earlier. But so I had a conversation with one of my close friends about this earlier, and it got a little heated because he was like, well, because I said, well, maybe we just need to, think about this more clearly and tell people what the numbers are so that we don't get in this place. And Yvette is one of the people that inspired this thought. I think that we're in this really bad place where we're really hard on each other because we really think that what we're doing is wrong. And I'm happy that you and Yvette keep on stressing this. Like, we're trying to live an American life. It's not our fault. And that's what I was trying to stress to him. He was like, well, maybe we just need to stop buying new cars, stop spending our money on this dumb stuff. And I'm like, no, man, it's not that. We're trying to just live. And what's ending up happening is a lot of our black leaders are talking to us like it's our fault. And they sound like racist a lot of times when they try to reprimand us, like, oh, it's because we're spending money on Jordans and Weaves. That's why we don't have money. It's because we're not spending our money and buying, going to black businesses and spending money like that. And I'm happy that you and Yvette continue to push this idea that it's not us, We're not spending our money any type of crazier way than anybody else is. It's just that our financial situation is more dire than other people's.
Let me say this. I appreciate you tuning in. I appreciate you watching. And I'm with you 100 that the reality is our spending habits are not our issue. The reality is our issue is that our blackness has locked us in to a position where oftentimes we do spend on poor things, but it's not like we could. If we put it all together and did a little better, we would be all that much further ahead. It's interesting because I'm looking at this Nielsen study. Listen to this, Yvette, both of you guys. Brand loyalty extends beyond in-store purchases. African Americans have notable preferences for quick service restaurants, QSRs, that differ from the total market. Look at this. Percentage of households who have ordered from quick QSRs in the last 3 months. 28% of black folks went to Popeyes. Only 9% of the market. The general market, 9%. You look over at McDonald's, we at 65% there. The general market's at 60%. Again, these are the percentage of black families or versus the general market that in the last 3 months before the study had went to this place. So at Popeyes, 28% of us had went there in the last 3 months. Only 9% of the market. Little Caesars.
Could I end with one thing before you let me go?
Go ahead.
I think it was Yvette that brought this up, that said, actually our savings rate is maybe slightly higher and slightly better than the dominant societies. So, like, when I tell people that, it kind of puts them in this weird place because everybody thinks we're just spending money frivolously, buying big rims, buying Jordans and Weaves. And when you tell them that, then they have to take a step back and like, okay, so maybe it isn't us. And I'm like, yeah, it isn't us, So I just wanted to leave you guys with that. But thanks again. I'll continue to call. I can't get into Yvette no more. Yvette done got too famous for me. Sometimes it's hard to get through it on the line. But, thanks you guys for spreading the word, and I'll continue spreading the word on my end.
No, thank you for tuning in. Yvette, let's go to these QSRs. What you think about that, having them spending habits at Popeyes, being up there like that? It doesn't say the amount. It just says that we went there.
Well, but the thing is, we went to Popeyes because that is our restaurant. Other people go and do people who have wealth go to real restaurants. I'm not talking about Chili's and I'm not talking about Applebee's. Other people get to go and spend and sit and do all that stuff and do it regularly. Not just at birthdays or whatever, because that's part of what it means to be American. Oh, honey, do you just want to go over to the nice little bistro down the road or whatever? We can't do that. And then I talked to the other day about it being like, about that food being addictive. But let me just say, I want to let this pass, but I can't. The gentleman in the chat who was talking about the let's get 5 Apache planes. Like, I don't think we understand when we talk about government that we want to have this own little small country that let this be Black America and let that be white America. I don't think we understand that America. When's the last time you watched the documentary on the United States Air Force or the United States military? This is the mightiest military in the world, and it topples regimes in other countries for fancy. Okay. Do you really think if you were able to even do that the government just can't come in and take? That's why you want the government acting on your behalf as opposed to the last thing you want to be as an African American is to have the government doing what it has been doing a lot of the way in terms of being opposition to you. And you definitely don't want it to be violently opposed to you anymore. How could you advocate for a position like that? And then somebody comes in and they say something else, totally different thing. Well, we need to stop buying cars. Let me tell you, there's something called, we all know it, Antonio, you know, it's called planned obsolescence. I have an old car. You know that? Well, you know what recently started happening? When it rains on my knee now. Okay? Because the car, that's what happens. Cars are designed to break down so you can get another car. Capitalism is efficient in terms of taking your money away from you. They ain't going to let you keep this car for 30 years no more. Ain't nobody doing that no more. No, they going to make you go get one. I had to go get a new phone. You know why? My phone stopped charging. They don't play anymore.
So 5 million Black people cannot just decide not to buy one chicken leg, take all that money together and get a plane so that we can protect ourselves?
You want us to stop eating Popeyes and getting Apache?
No, but think about, we're using third world developing country kind of mentality in the middle of the mightiest country on the planet, let alone one of the mightiest countries ever to exist, as if that's going to be a means of defense, instead of demanding of government that they give us a piece of access to the power of the mighty government. It's the craziest thing ever. The other thing that came out in the Nielson report that I was looking at, again, this is the people that come out with this $1.3 trillion in buying power. We have, so we make, we have only, what is it, $800 billion in income, but we spend $1.3 trillion in money. I don't know. What came out is financial products, services owned, used by African Americans versus the general market. Checking accounts. Count of households that own an account where checks may be written against deposits. The general market is 90%, only 83% of Black homes. I don't even know how you live. You got to understand what we're saying. 17% of Black homes aren't even bankable. I mean, that's obscenely high. Obscenely high. If you look over at bank credit cards, count of households that own a credit card, 70% for the general market, 52% for the Black market. 52%. I doubt that 50% of Black people don't have credit cards because they choosing not to. I think it has to do with credit. 323-879-4445. Join in to give your opinion. What do you think, Yvette, about this whole thing?
Somebody in the chat brought up a very good point. And that those helicopters also have to be maintained. You can't just buy the helicopters and just sit them there. And then somebody else in the chat said, "Well, I was a Marine and we could definitely fight the Marines." Listen, people have to understand something. If you are a soldier anywhere, that don't even mean you know the whole military. You don't even know how the CIA is moving, in these other countries and what the FBI is doing and all these diplomats that we use and the leverage that we have. See, being the mightiest country in the world with all the capitalists, you have a lot of leverage that you can use to move countries to your will, bend these countries to your will. You want to set yourself in opposition to that?
You talking about E-Ray? He was in the military in the 80s. He don't even know about now. I'm just saying, no. They was using the gun. What is that? The gun with the knife at the end. I'm just saying, we got a lot of people who are experts at another time. And that's part of our problem with the buying power method, like myth and everything. We want to go back to a time that America isn't in right now. America's in super capitalist mode. It's in Jeff Bezos buys up the grocery stores and then tells you these grocery stores don't take food stamps mode. It's in the mode where they're going to send you a harvest box instead of sending you food stamps. I don't think we understand that the idea that we're going to take consumption and somehow do a Montgomery bus boycott in today's America, a global America, is ignorant. It's gone. What we got to do is take our numbers while we can. This is the last train out, and do politics. What do you think, Yvette?
I don't know. I don't know. Honestly, Antonio, I'm in the chat right now trying to get my sunroof fixed.
Oh man, Yvette in there trying to get information about caulking her whatever it's called, her sunroof. I seen that. Yvette, don't be using my chat to fix your black problems. So look here. This is the thing that I'm saying to y'all. You know, black buying power to me is largely mythology. We've created this as a scapegoat. I've shown to you why. I've shown you that white folks have a $10 trillion in buying power. That Asian folks have nearly the same buying power at nearly at $1 trillion with half the workers. What we have to start understanding is that the media is out here perpetuating mythology to make us only even more aspirational instead of more political. And that's the point of this message. This message isn't about bringing you down. It's about lifting you up. Yvette, what do you want to say about black buying power as we move on?
I mean, it's just a myth. There is nothing that backs it up. And it's the conversation that we keep having, even in terms of the whole, even when we talk about the dollar staying in the community, okay, and the black, it's a myth. And when you look at it, it's like this, it's a piece of, it's marketing to kind of convince us that we have money so that we'll spend more money. One of the things that we have to understand is that capitalism as it's designed right now is just trying to pick your pocket all the time. And that's how you have to look at yourself in terms of your relationship to capital. It's always trying to convince you to and think of ways to make you spend money. So even when you think of ads that chase you around or whatever, you know, I understand why it has to be there because websites need to make revenue. But everybody is trying to take your money, and that's all this is. It's a way to try to convince us that we have money. We say, oh, we got a lot of buying power. We got a lot of money. So, and I'm not even telling you, like the young lady said when she called earlier, she said, well, I have a Mercedes. I'm not telling you not to have a Mercedes. My whole thing is not to tell you not to have a Mercedes or whatever you're driving. I'm telling you how you need to interpret that car in terms of what it means for your stature. You cannot interpret having a Mercedes to mean, well, I'm middle class.
I agree. And so when I come to this, Yvette, I want to pose one last question to you. How does black buying power connect to the legacy of slavery and Jim Crow for you?
Well, there was no wealth to pass down. Like it's like, what did you call it? The rise of legacy.
Yep.
So if there is no legacy, when I say legacy, I'm talking about legacy in terms of wealth that was built up during a time when America was growing and bustling. People don't understand how when we had those wars, industry and everything from railroads, that was a bustling economy when America was growing. That's when people made that money and passed down that money. That's what they're using today to build their lives. So we can't tap into that. We're negative because they use our people to create that wealth. So what you have now is a situation where we don't have that buying power, but like the other caller said, no fault of our own that we don't have that wealth or have that money. That's the situation that we were placed into. The key question that we have to answer for ourselves now is what are we going to do to try to maneuver outside of that?
I agree, Yvette. And you know when a lot of us are going to find out about black buying power? When they take away food stamps and make it a harvest box. We're going to see how many grocery stores stay around, how many people still worried about whether they in our communities. I think for a lot of us, what we don't understand is how little wealth black America has. And I don't think we understand the competition is fierce to get resources in your community. Walmart don't have to be near you. There's a lot of food deserts all in the South where you got to drive 15 and 20 miles for food. And I don't think that we understand that in Baltimore right now, a lot of those people shop at a liquor store, the equivalent of a liquor store. That's where they get all their stuff from soap to bread. And I think it's going to spread. And the reality is us believing in mythology rather than the reality of economics will leave us all behind. Again, I want to thank Yvette Carnell for coming on my show, for supporting. Please go to breakingbrown.com. Please support her show Mondays and Wednesdays. It's at 6 o'clock Pacific time, 9 o'clock Eastern. And Yvette, any last thing you want to say to the audience?
No, I just want to say thanks to the Breaking Brown fam and the Tone Talk family for showing up and continuing to have this conversation, especially when I know a lot of people don't want to have it. I know we get a lot of pushback for having this conversation, but it's necessary.
And please share this on a bunch of pages. Let's keep this dialogue going. Black buying power is a myth. And ain't no $1.3 trillion gonna get you out of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to Tone Talk.